ونستعين إن الحمد لله نحمده ونشكره ونستعينه ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا إنه من يهديه الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن نبينا محمدا صلى الله عليه وسلم عبد الله ورسوله أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Indeed, all the thanks and all the praises are due to Allah the Almighty, who has made it possible for us to be together this evening. Once again, we appreciate Allah and we exalt His mighty name. We beseech Allah the Almighty to protect us against the whisperings of the devil, Shaitan, and grant us His mercy to be one of those with whom He is so pleased with in this world. And may Allah grant us the blessings of being among those He will be pleased with in the hereafter. On that note, I want to welcome us to this study circle tonight as a family hour. And tonight we're talking about something that is very, very important to the family because of its recurrence in recent years in our society, and this is how lovers become strangers. And this is something that we have to look at very critically, because if you begin to analyze what really happened, how is it that someone that used to say, I can't wait to hear from you, if I don't see you, I can't eat, the food won't go, I can't sleep. I keep on thinking about you. When are you coming back? How would this now become? I don't want to see him again. How would it become? We talk about other issues. We don't talk about what connects us together. How is it suddenly that you that can't eat or sleep without seeing your beloved partner, now you can sleep and snore? Whether he likes it or she likes it or not, I've eaten, and I've slept. So if he comes, let him have his food all by himself. I don't care whatever he likes to eat, whatever he doesn't want to eat. That is not my business. That is entirely his own business. How is it possible? Now we want to x-ray and understand what are the things that can happen to a couple that will make them to shift from being lovers to strangers in the family. And this is very, very critical because it has affected and probably is still affecting many homes. How have you degenerated from being lovers to strangers? Now, this is not to be a kind of a blame thing, a blame game, right? It is for us to, search. It's kind of a soul searching to begin to internalize our value system. What is it that has happened to our relationship that we're no longer what we used to be? This is a problem. The first thing I'm going to start with tonight is emotional abandonment. See, when couples begin to abandon themselves emotionally, and they are with themselves physically, but they are not with themselves emotionally, then there is a problem. Whenever there is no empathy, whenever there is no listenership, that is, neither the husband nor the wife wants to listen to the other person, each person is just on his own, like I'm talking to you, you're not paying attention to me, then there is a problem here. Whenever there is no affection or no more expression of affection, then the other party begins to feel alone within the marriage. And you know that loneliness in the marriage is critical. When a person is in a marriage and you don't wear the toga of being a married husband or married wife, you feel lonely like any other person. You begin to ask, so what is the essence of the marriage? Because loneliness in a marriage can be as painful or even more painful than loneliness outside the marriage. So importantly, this evening, the first thing we need to understand as part of the reasons why couples can move from lovers to stranger is emotional abandonment. When you no longer cherish your wife for who she is, when you not begin to see her as, or see him as a burden, you no longer see him as part and parcel of your emotional life, then at that point in time, we say there is a problem. May Allah have mercy on us. Ameen. Now, the second thing I'd like us to take a look at is, this what I call taking each other for granted. Actually, when couples begin to take themselves for granted is a problem. And what does it mean to take each other for granted? Because you feel that, is he not my husband? He won't mind. Is she not my wife? It doesn't matter. He will always be there. He will always understand. She will always understand. Now you begin to take each other for granted, and because of the time you spend together, name it familiarity, which familiarity in this case can lead to carelessness about each other's feeling. And you now begin to see yourself as you say it should be expected. He should know that he should do this. It is his responsibility. It is her responsibility. You no longer doing it with the courtesy that it deserves, under the guise that she will always be there or he will always be there. So effort at equipping ourselves emotionally and watching our backs, emotionally in terms of the loving relationship begins to atrophy. So you're not putting additional effort at sustaining the relationship because you feel that it doesn't really matter because it's my wife and it's my husband. It doesn't really matter. He will always be there or she will always be there. So these assumptions leads to unintentional care. It is not that you intentionally don't care about your husband or your wife, but you just assume that it's no problem. It is not supposed to be a problem. We know how we manage ourselves, and this itself becomes a big problem, a big challenge. And the next point, one of the things that can make, let me quickly add this, is that one thing that can make lovers to become stranger is when couples do not rise and grow together. Okay, for example, the two of you got married while you had your higher education in terms of your secondary school education, and one person made more further effort to go to school. Though the other person claimed I was the one that sponsored him, either the husband or the wife, either the husband sponsors the wife or the wife sponsors the husband. This disparity can breed a gap between the husband and the wife, and that can lead to a very serious problem at that. Now, there is a problem that I know many couples used to have. When you start together, you don't grow together. It is important that if you want to sustain your relationship for a long period of time, you guys should encourage yourselves to grow together. Is it business you do together? Is it school you want to go to together? Is it ibadah you want to do together? Whatever is it that you feel you value, then value it together. Don't make it that it is one person that values it, the other person does not see it as being important. Because if it be important to A, then it has to be important. This is that when you don't, you used to share your goals, to look at life from the same lens, from the same prism. Now each person looks at life differently because you now begin to have this different perspective on life. And because you now have different perspectives on life, you begin to follow different paths, or you begin to approach things through different routes. And of course, if you approach things through different routes, it might land you on a different path, and that in and of itself can lead to couples moving or drifting from being lovers to strangers. And I've seen couples because either of them outgrew the other. You know, they outgrew the other, maybe as a result of educational pursuit. They outgrew each other One of them outgrew the other, maybe because of economic opportunities. Maybe one of them outgrew the other because of political connection. So after some time, one party now begins to feel that it's no longer my class. That's the word here. It's no longer fit for me. I can't take him out. I can't, my friends can't see him with me. My friends can't see her with me. And now each party now begins to walk on different routes. Whereas you guys started the road of life or the journey of life together. This itself is a problem. The next point I'd like to mention very quickly is spiritual connection. If you look at it especially from Islamic perspective, you discover that two couples who do not connect in terms of closeness to the Almighty, after some time, they will not be able to glide together. And that is fundamental because if you used to pray together, now you don't pray together, you used to fast together, you don't fast together, or one person who used not to drink alcohol now begins to drink alcohol, the other person that used not to smoke cigarette now begins to smoke cigarette, you see the disparity in their views, their world views. One person sees faith, the other person sees, not having faith as important. One person sees prayer as important, the other person says, what this prayer is wasting of time. One person says the need for us to be grounded spiritually through fasting, the other person feels just going on hunger strike. What kind of fasting is this? And, with this, the fragility of the relationship sets in. And neither of them begin to value each other because they didn't grow with spiritual connection together. So this itself can bring a problem and make lovers to become strangers. What about external pressures and distractions? Sometimes life changes, work stress, financial strain can make parties or partners to go on separate ways even though they are still in the relationship. They now drift from being lovers to stranger because, for example, attention now shifts from our relationship to work. I have to do my work. I have to go to work. Now you're not beginning to pay attention to I have to be at work at XYZ time. You have to do this and or going for bills and going for children, especially with respect to our women, the mother now begins to shift attention from the husband to the children. And when the husband is at home, he is no longer receiving attention, the usual attention from the wife. He now begins to look at, is this not my wife? What happened? Nothing happened. Attention just changed. She moved the attention from you to the children. And there is no proper management that can make the lovers to live like strangers. Or it could be financial strain. Maybe one of the couples get involved in some financial, troubles, run into trouble, water financially, maybe due to insolvency or bankruptcy or stealing or going for loan or some issues like this can make lovers to become strangers because now each person, the other party now feels that you created this problem. I used to be very buoyant. Now everything is gone, or you took loan from me. You're not paying me back. I need my money. This stuff can make couples to drift from being lovers to strangers, except and unless it is strictly managed. Furthermore, one of the things that can bring distraction, kind of external distraction, is what in these days of social media, when one party each time and every time you just glue to the phone, whoever you're talking to on the phone, it doesn't really matter how on earth can you be at home with your partner, your husband or your wife, and you don't give attention. You give 30 minutes of attention to your phone, and you give 5 minutes of attention to the person who is physically present with you, and you give hours of attention to online friends, online meetings, social media, whatever. And this, if not properly managed, can shift focus from the relationship to something external, and now you have the energy invested in the marriage drifting away from the marriage to online friends to work to children or others like that. And that, of course, can make couples to drift from being lovers to strangers. Furthermore, when there is no respect, when couples no longer show respect to themselves, it becomes a problem because when couples lack respect for themselves, in terms of the way they talk to themselves. When one partner, respect is very important in marriage. Some people cannot stay in a disrespectful relationship when a partner, feels that my husband is not respecting me or my wife is not respecting me. That is the first blow. In fact, the death penalty to love in a relationship. When you have a wife or you have a husband who is disrespectful outright, then you ask the question, so why am I in this relationship? When you can speak to me blatantly, you can abuse me and disrespect me, belittle me, and dismiss my opinion or expose my weaknesses in the presence of friends and colleagues and families. You don't cover my secret, you don't cover my shame, you call me bad names and bad appellants and all this stuff, and you don't see me as important part of your life. So why am I still in this relationship? And that's the question each partner is going to ask. When you expose your partner, when you expose your wife, when you expose your husband, the question is, where is the love? I mean, there is no one that is perfect, if we must say this clearly. Nobody is perfect. But you make it your own, you have a penchant to constantly, you know, virulently expose the other party. Then that itself becomes a problem because now you chose the part of belligerency that, you know, we want to just give it a lash out at her or lash out at him without caring about his or her feeling. Now, at that point in time, hearts begin to blow apart, and the love that is mawadda is gone. The rahmah is gone because respect is out of the marriage. Now, if you damage respect for the self-respect of your wife, or you damage self-respect of your husband, then I think from that day you lose the love you have, that person has for you. And that is why I don't like people who don't care. In the name of, I'm angry, so because I was angry, I had to talk to you that way. No. If you respect your husband, if you respect your wife, even when you are angry, you will speak the language of love. I mean, you can express anger with love. Yes. When you say, oh, my darling, I don't like what you did. Oh, babe, why did you do this? You're expressing your displeasure, right? But you're expressing it in a loving manner. That person you tell, my darling, I don't like it. My baby, why did you do this? That person feels wanted because he feels that, oh, this man is calling me my darling and still telling me he doesn't like what I'm doing. So the person senses that, oh, this guy cares for me, but he doesn't really like what I'm doing. Right. So by the time we now begin to denigrate ourselves, or we don't consider ourselves as being important to ourselves, and I don't really like people who say, I can do it without you. I don't need you anyway. Hey, so you don't need him. Why did you marry him? Why did you marry him? No, don't say that. Some people say it in anger, and after the anger might have settled down, they fail to go and apologize to their partner whom they had so much insulted out of being disrespectful. No, you see, the point here is this. The point here is this. We should show respect for ourselves if we cherish our relationship. Now, another thing that can change lovers to strangers in a relationship is accumulation of unresolved conflict. Small issues become, a big avalanche. It can snowball into an avalanche, and that is a problem for a relationship. When you fail to resolve small issues, when you ignore them, they compound into walls of problems, emotional stonewalling. When the other person is stonewalls, the other party is stonewalls, then nobody wants to bend a little backward to see, oh, what's wrong, what's happening here. So before their very eyes, they look at their relationship collapsing like packs of cards before their very eyes. And that is not good enough in any relationship. So when you allowed issues to accumulate and hurts are not addressed, you don't create room to settle resentment or bitterness. You don't create room to address things that are a point of differences. I mean, you just look indifferently to other person's plight. Now, indifference can be more dangerous than anger. And here it is. The person who angrily expresses I don't like the way you are talking to me. The person still feels that I belong here. And that is why he or she is expressing the anger anyway, right? But how do you handle the case of the person who shuts down? Because the person is just indifferent because it's okay, I don't have anything to do with him. Let him live his life and let me live my life. With this and at this point in time, it begins to signal emotional disengagement, because each of them now begins to see that I no longer belong here, right? So if you no longer belong there, the question is, where do you belong? You belong somewhere else. And that is a danger for relationship. It kills relationship faster than anything you can think of. So the best thing is, whenever there are issues, I think it is better that couples should resolve it and not don't pretend that it's all over, it's all well. It's not all well. If you notice something, say something. Even to the extent of intimacy. And quite frankly, many people don't care about this. And I mean, there is no harm in you asking your partner, how is it? How am I in the other room? Am I okay? And he can be boldly tell you that, no, you're not okay. Oh, what happened? No, I think it is stress. So we have to address the issue of stress. We have to address the issue of what you eat and others like that. So this shows a relationship that is still alive. But once you begin to now see that it doesn't really matter, hey, what you feel or you think is not, it doesn't matter, can become the thing that will break the backbone of the marriage when you refuse to resolve those issues. Now, there is another important point that I think we need to address in addressing what could lead to couples shifting or drifting from lovers to stranger, and that is poor communication habits or poor communication skills. Now, like I mentioned earlier, some people don't know how to talk to other people. They lack manners. And somehow that could be connected to their upbringing. Because of the way they were brought up, they lack manners, and they go into the relationship still not having manners. You know. And here we're talking about issues of poor communication skills. When the couples don't communicate with themselves in a good way, then it becomes a problem for relationship. Now, how do I mean here? When a husband does not, it doesn't matter to a husband how he addresses the wife. When a husband or wife uses damaging speech, it brings distance. And that distance can start with silence. When you see, you have a penchant for criticism rather than correction. And when I say correction, I mean a loving kind of correction. When you take pleasure in criticizing your partner or criticizing your wife, it's a poor communication habit. Rather than criticize, you look for a way of lovingly correcting yourself. When sarcasm takes sway in a relationship, when avoidance begins to be your own way of resolving marital problem that you feel that is too much for me to handle, and you feel that better I just avoid him. I don't want problem here. I don't want trouble. So I better just stay on my lane because I don't want anyone to insult me. Because you feel that your partner, either the husband or the wife, lacks correct communication skills. When this happen, and I say it to people who care to listen, that if you don't care if you don't care about how you talk to yourselves, how you address yourselves, then there is a big problem here, because now you begin to see that you can talk to him or talk to her in a manner that you feel. The fact that the person did not reply you, the fact that he or she did not answer you, does not mean the person is happy. It just shows that, okay, that's the way you want to talk, is no problem. And the person just withdraws and shuts down in his or her cocoon. And some people even carry this from the home front to the workplace. There are people who are so bellicose. Anything they want to do, they just like to hit at the other party. And this they didn't take it from the street. They didn't take it from the blues. It's a practice they are used to from their home, and now they carry it to the workplace, and they feel that because they feel that it's working. Some people say it's working on my wife. If once I shout at him, he keeps quiet, or once I shout at her, she keeps quiet. Hey, you are postponing the evil of that marriage. Because by the time that evil will set in, you will look for your partner and you won't find him or her again. How is it possible that people who have lived in a relationship for years suddenly just wake up and say, I'm no longer interested in this marriage, I want to just find another way. I want to leave this marriage? Because all the years they have been under the kind of tortuous hegemony of their partner, either the husband or the wife. Now, by the time partners begin to avoid themselves, over time, they misunderstand themselves easily, and they feel emotionally unsafe in the home, and they feel that I better just stay somewhere else. I better just go out and hang out with friends. I better just come back home late in order to avoid the way you talk, your poor manner. Some people lack manners in talking. They don't know how to address people. They don't have control over the way they feel. Once they feel angry, say, because I'm angry now, so you can talk to anybody just because you are angry? No, it is not the right approach. So now, to have a healthy relationship, we need to develop right communication skills on how to talk to people. Husbands must learn how to talk to their wives. Wives must learn how to talk to their husband. You don't address your husband like you address any other man. You don't address your wife like you address any other woman. No, it has to be courteous. That needs a special arrangement, a special address, a special manner of communication. And it's important for us to get it right, because when couples don't care about how each other feel, then that is a problem here. There is a problem here. May Allah protect our relationship and protect our homes. Now, the last point I'd like to mention here is neglect of emotional maintenance. Now, neglect of emotional maintenance has destroyed so many homes, because they feel that it doesn't really matter. Our home, we have been together for a while. Everybody will understand. It doesn't really matter. We are not really that kind of a thing. My husband is very understanding. No, how you started your relationship must be sustained. It must be sustained. And how do I mean? How many of us know that love in a relationship is not self-nurturing or self-sustaining? What I mean is, you don't say that the way we started our loving relationship, it will continue that way. No, there has to be a way of you freshening up your love. Look for a way of freshening up your love, freshening up your relationship, because love is like a plant, like a plant. You plant a tree, you plant a seed. You don't plant a seed and turn your back. You plant the seed and continue to nurture the seed. So now, love is just like this. Once you love someone, it shouldn't stop there. There is a need for couple to sustain that relationship by expressing the love. Tell your husband, I love you. Tell your wife, I miss you. Tell your husband, let's kickstart loving and meaningful relationship and conversation. Don't make it like a functional conversation. Make it emotional conversation. You know, like you used to express this expression like, I can't wait to see you. Say it to your husband. Oh, I can't wait to hear from you again. Oh, I miss you, my love. Things like this. Once couple drift from this, and the old thing they begin to talk about is, how do we pay bills? How do we pay school fees of the children? How do we buy this and that? If that is the only thing you begin to deal with, then that is a problem. Because you can't have a state of vacuity in a relationship. It has to be filled and laced with loving expression. You can't have it. You can't say, I've expressed it a lot enough. I told him earlier, or I told her earlier, I love that. So how do I continue to just say I love you? No, guy, continue to say I love you, I love you, I love you. Continue to say it. Don't say that. I said it in the morning. So why do you have to say it again in the afternoon? No. Continue to say it because that sustains like a lubricant for a relationship. Now, don't say that in those days we used to work out together and not work out together again. No, something is wrong. In those years we used to eat together. Now we don't eat together again. Just eat this food. I eat my food. No, sustain the relationship. Don't say we used to kiss ourselves. Now we don't kiss ourselves again. No, you used to kiss yourself. Continue to kiss yourselves. We used to hug ourselves. Now we don't hug ourselves again. No, continue to hug yourselves. Continue to sustain that love. That is the backbone of every relationship. Listen to what I said. Love is not self-sustaining. It is the human beings that sustain love. Now, right? It is the partner that sustain love. So we have to make it a habit to constantly sustain our love in our relationship. So as we go tonight, make it a duty. We want to wrap up on this note. Make it a duty that you will always tell your wife, I love you. Make it a duty to tell your husband, I love you. Don't use the normal appellation. Use the loving appellation. For example, I missed you, baby. Things like this. Or my baby. Don't call your wife whatever. Don't call your husband Abu Abdullah. No. Say, my love, my darling, my heart, my sweetheart, you know. And all these names are the ones that actually sustain a love in a relationship. I ask Allah in His mercy to bless us all in our homes and bless our relationship. This will save our relationship from drifting from being lovers to strangers. Because this excitement that we have in a relationship shouldn't be left alone. And don't allow anything to take it off. Don't even allow the challenges that might face the relationship to take it off. Let us try to sustain it as much as we can. And this is the lubricant that lubricates every relationship. I ask Allah to bless your home and mine and bless us with the right relationship here on earth and unite together in Jannah at the end of our sojourn through life. I want to sincerely appreciate you tonight for being together with us on this episode this evening. I am Dr. Gidado Taufik Mikdad. I want to appreciate all those who have sent their messages. I really appreciate you all for all that you have sent. All the prayers, I appreciate every single bit of the messages that you have sent. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, find time to subscribe to the channel. Why not? So that you won't miss any of the updates whenever we have our programs and sessions. May Allah bless you, reward your time sticking around with us tonight, and bless your relationship. On that note, wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Maybe I should add, because I used to have this kind of feedback thing. Supposing we want to have feedback, you could. This is a message. It could be a message on WhatsApp. You could chat me up on WhatsApp. Let's know how you feel. Let's know areas of questions and concerns that you may have, and then we can begin to address it, or other things that you feel that we can still do to make this conversation much better. And I believe that we can together take ourselves from where we are to where we are supposed to be. The number you can chat me up with on WhatsApp is 080 668 28576. I repeat, if you are from outside the country, from outside Nigeria, you can add the code +234 and then 80668 28576. May Allah bless you. Thank you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.